Right now, there's a question hanging over almost every conversation about AI. Is it coming for our jobs? So tech CEOs are saying yes, headlines are saying yes, layoff trackers are saying yes, and honestly, if you are a software engineer or content writer, a customer service rep, or someone in IT services in India or anywhere in abroad, you can actually feel it. But here's what I want to do in the next few minutes. Not give you another AI is the end of the world video, not sell you on AI either. I want to actually connect the dots between where we've been before, where we are now, and what the data is telling us if you read it carefully. Because once you see the pattern, the question itself changes, and that's what I want to get to by the end. We tend to list technological revolutions like a checklist: agriculture, printing press, steam engine, electricity, internet, AI. Each one disrupts some jobs, but the actual pattern underneath is much bigger than jobs. Every general-purpose technology in history has done one specific thing. It changes how humans live, what they spend their time on, and what their work looks like. Let me walk through it in order. Around several thousand years ago, humans figured out agriculture. Before that, people moved around in small groups finding food. After agriculture, they could stay in one place, build villages, then towns, then cities, specialize, trade. That single shift is what made civilization possible. Writing, math, art, science, none of it exists without agriculture freeing people from spending all day looking for food. Now here's where it gets interesting. In 1790, 90% of Americans worked on farms. Today, less than 2% do that. And here's the question most people miss. If 88% of farmers left the farm, how are we feeding more people than ever? That's a great question. The answer is technology. Tractors, fertilizers, irrigation, genetics, satellite mapping. Today, one American farmer feeds about 166 people. In 1790, one farmer could barely feed 5. We didn't need fewer farmers because we needed less food. We needed fewer farmers because each farmer became extraordinarily more productive. Then around 1440, Gutenberg invents the printing press. Before that, books were copied by hand by scribes, skilled artisans who trained for years. The press made them mostly obsolete. In 1476, a group of scribes in Paris physically attacked and destroyed a printing press because they saw their livelihood disappearing. But they didn't win. But within 2 centuries, European literacy went from around 30% to nearly 50%. Knowledge stopped being concentrated in a small group of people who actually controlled access. It got spreaded. The Renaissance, the scientific revolution, modern democracy, all of that becomes possible because suddenly ideas could travel. Then comes steam. In 1700s and 1800s, suddenly work wasn't limited by humans or animal muscle. Factories, railroads, cities exploded. Then electricity, late 1800s, and this one is the most important to understand for what's happening today. Edison invented the light bulb in 1879. By 1900, only 3% of homes had electric lighting and electric motors powered less than 5% of factories. It took almost 40 years of electricity to actually show up in productivity data. Not because the technology didn't work, but because factories had to redesign themselves around it. At first, owners just replaced their steam engine with one giant electric motor and kept the same factory layout. The real productivity boom came in 1920s, when they finally redesigned factories around small individual motors at every workstation. That's the lesson. The technology arrives fast. The reorganization takes a generation. Now here's the obvious pushback. Someone watching this is thinking, hold on, those past technologies replaced muscle and routine. AI is replacing thinking. That's categorically different. And honestly, you're right. AI is different. But here's what I'd ask you to sit with. Every transformative technology was different from the one before it in a way that felt unprecedented at that time. The printing press wasn't faster scribes. It changed who had access to knowledge. The steam engine wasn't a stronger horse. It changed where humans could physically live and work. Electricity wasn't a brighter candle. It changed when humans could work because suddenly night and day didn't matter. The internet wasn't a faster newspaper. It collapsed the cost of sharing information to almost zero. So each one was categorically different. Each one looked existential at that time, and each one followed the same arc. Short-term displacement, long-term reorganization, painful for the people in the transition. What's actually different about AI is the speed. ChatGPT hit 100 million users in just 2 months. The internet took 15 years to reach that. Electricity took 40. I watched this curve myself. I started using GPT-2 back in 2020. My first real use, it was summarizing medical and health reports for a company I worked at. And honestly, my reaction was just like, wow, pure wow. The model was rough back then, but you could feel something different was happening. In just 6 years, we went from a model that could barely write a coherent paragraph to AI agents writing production code, drafting legal contracts, and running customer support for entire companies. So that speed, that's what's actually different about this revolution. The pattern is the same. The clock is just radically faster. Okay, which means the question we started with, is AI coming for our jobs? That is actually a wrong question. The right question is, the one we should all be asking is, where am I in this transition and what do I do about it? So let's go to the data on where we actually are. Here's the real picture in 2026, and it's more nuanced than the headlines. In Q1 of 2026, around 78,000 tech workers were laid off globally. About 47.9% of those layoffs were attributed to AI by the companies themselves. But in December 2025 survey by resume.org of 1,000 hiring managers found that 59% admit they emphasize AI in layoff announcements because, in their words, it plays better with stakeholders than admitting financial pressure. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, called this AI washing, his own words at the AI India Impact Summit. So what's the honest read? Some of the displacement is real. Some of it is companies using AI as cover for normal cost cutting. Goldman Sachs estimates 6 to 7% of workers globally will be displaced over the next decade as AI rolls out. The World Economic Forum projects 92 million jobs displaced by 2030 and 170 million new ones created, net positive of 78 million globally. But aggregate numbers hide the individual pain. Anthropic's labor market research found that workers aged 22 to 25 in highly AI-exposed jobs are seeing a 14% drop in job finding rates compared to 2022. The entry-level pipeline is kind of being compressed. And the sharpest impact is in India. The top 5 Indian IT firms, TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL, Tech Mahindra, cut a net 6,981 jobs in financial year 2026, reversing 12,718 net hires the year before. TCS alone reduced headcount by over 23,000. Why is India feeling it sharpest? Because the entire Indian IT services industry, a $250 billion sector, was built on labor arbitrage. US companies paid Indian firms to do work cheaper with more people. If an AI agent can do the work of 10 BPO analysts, that arbitrage advantage just collapses. This is the part of the story Western coverage usually misses. While workers are being displaced, most of the companies doing the displacing aren't even getting AI right yet. MIT did a major study in 2025. Companies have put $30 to $40 billion in generative AI. 95% of those pilots delivered zero measurable return on investment. Now you might hear that and think, see, AI is overhyped. But that's the wrong takeaway. Remember what I said about electricity. When factories first adopted electric motors, they got incremental gains for decades. The technology worked. The problem was that companies were deploying it without rethinking how their work actually got done. We are in the exact same phase with AI. Companies are chasing AI because the board demanded an AI strategy, not because that they have a problem AI can solve. They are putting it in sales and marketing for the optics, when MIT's data shows the real returns are in back office automation and finance. This isn't AI failing, this is the cost of being early. The 5% who get it right today are the factories that figured out unit drive motors in the 1920s. The other 95% are still bolting AI onto the old workflows. That's not a flaw in the technology. That's how every revolution looks from the inside. There's one more cost layer worth talking about, because every revolution in history came with hidden costs the world had to figure out. Cars brought air pollution and traffic deaths. Industrialization brought urban poverty and child labor. Each one was a real problem. Each one was gradually solved as society caught up. So AI's hidden cost right now is the environmental. Data centers in the US are projected to emit 24 to 44 million metric tons of CO2 per year by 2030, equivalent to putting up to 10 million cars on the road. This is real and we should acknowledge it. But the work to solve it is also real. The average data center efficiency metric, called PUE, has dropped from 2.5 in 2007 to 1.58 in 2023. Google now operates some sites under 1.06, Meta's average is 1.08. Researchers showing that advanced cooling technologies can cut cooling energy by up to 50%. Microsoft and Caterpillar successfully ran a data center on hydrogen fuel cells for 48 hours straight as a clean energy alternative to dieselback. So the cost is real. The solutions are emerging. This is the same arc we saw with cars, with manufacturing, with every prior revolution. And our job as users, as builders, as a society is to keep paying attention to it instead of abstracting it away because the interface is just a chat box. So if the right question is, where am I in this transition? What does the data actually tell you to do? start with this. AI is leverage, not replacement. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said 30% of their source code is now written by AI. The engineers using AI as a teammate are massively outproducing the ones who don't. If you're a software engineer, a writer, an analyst, a designer, and you think AI won't touch your work, you're already losing the ground. So the skill isn't doing the task anymore. It's directing the intelligence that does the task. But on the other side of that, if you're a founder, a manager, an operator, that 95% failure rate is your warning. Don't chase AI for the sake of AI. Find the problem first, then ask if AI is the right tool. Sometimes it might be just a database query. Sometimes it's a better process. Sometimes the answer is really AI. The companies winning right now started with the problem, not the technology. And whatever role you're in, understand what's underneath. You don't need to train models, but you need to understand AI has costs. Energy, water, hallucination rates, accuracy limits. The people who win in this era are the ones who know when to use AI, when to question it, and when to do the work themselves. For everyone watching from India or anywhere around the world, or anywhere built on the services model, there's one more thing. The labor arbitrage era is declining. The next decade belongs to the people and companies that build products and AI-driven services that compete globally. The shift from we do it cheaper to we do it better with AI is happening right now. The window to make that shift is open. It will not be open forever. So, back to the question we started with. Is AI coming for our jobs? It's a wrong question. The scribes who attacked the printing press in 1476 lost. The scribes who became printers won. The factories that bolted electric motors onto old layouts got incremental gains. The ones that redesigned around the electricity got the productivity boom of the 1920s. The displacement is real, but what really determines the outcome isn't the technology, it's what each person and each company does next. So, the question hanging over every conversation about AI isn't whether it will reshape your work. It will. The question is whether you will be ready when it does. That's where we are. Thank you.